Do you know there was a Russian Empire? Do you know that Russia was once not just a country, but an empire so vast it stretched across continents? An empire larger than Rome, larger than the British Empire at its peak. An empire so enormous that the sun rose and set inside its borders. Yet today, very few people truly understand what it was or how it disappeared. This is the story of the Russian Empire. For centuries, the Russian Empire was one of the most powerful forces on Earth. At its height, it controlled nearly 1/6 of the planet's land surface, from Eastern Europe across Siberia, all the way to the Pacific Ocean. It ruled over dozens of cultures, languages, and religions. And it was built not overnight, but through ambition, fear, faith, and blood. The story begins in a place called Muscovy. In the Middle Ages, Russia was not a unified state. It was a collection of small principalities, often under threat from invaders. Mongol armies had once dominated the region. European powers watched from the west, and survival required strength. Then came Ivan IV, better known as Ivan the Terrible. Ivan was the first ruler to officially call himself Tsar of all Russia. Under his rule, Russia expanded rapidly, but his reign was brutal. He ruled through fear, secret police, and executions. Cities were destroyed, enemies were crushed, and power was centralized under one man. But Ivan laid the foundation for something much larger, an empire that would continue to grow long after him. After periods of chaos and civil war, the empire truly transformed under Peter the Great. Peter was obsessed with power and modernization. He believed Russia was backward compared to Europe, so he forced change. Western clothing replaced traditional dress. Modern weapons replaced medieval armies. A navy was built from nothing, and an entirely new capital was constructed. Peter founded St. Petersburg, a city built on frozen swamps, a city meant to face Europe. Thousands died building it, but it became a symbol of imperial ambition. Under Peter, Russia became a European superpower, and the Russian Empire officially entered the global stage. Then came Catherine the Great, one of the most powerful women in history. Under her rule, the empire expanded even further. Crimea was taken, parts of Eastern Europe were absorbed, borders pushed outward in all directions. Russia was no longer defending itself, it was dominating others. But the empire was not just large, it was deeply unequal. At the top sat the Tsar and the nobility. Below him, millions of peasants. Many were serfs, legally bound to landowners. They could be sold, moved, punished. For them, the empire was not glory, it was survival. As the empire grew, so did its problems. Managing such vast territory was nearly impossible. Different ethnic groups were ruled by force. Rebellions were crushed. Dissent was silenced. Secret police monitored citizens. Freedom of speech was dangerous, and the Tsar ruled with absolute authority. By the 1800s, cracks began to show. Industrialization reached Russia late. Factories rose, but conditions were brutal. Workers lived in poverty. Peasants demanded land. Intellectuals demanded reform. But the Tsars resisted change. They believed power was sacred, given by God. Then came Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia. He inherited an empire already under strain.
military defeats, economic hardship, public anger. Yet he refused to share power, and that decision would end the empire forever. In 1917, everything collapsed. Protests erupted in the streets, soldiers refused orders, the government lost control. This was the Russian Revolution. The Tsar was forced to abdicate. For the first time in centuries, Russia had no emperor. Soon after, Nicholas II and his entire family were executed, quietly, in the dark. An empire that lasted over 300 years ended with gunshots in a basement. Out of its ruins rose the Soviet Union, a new system, a new ideology, but not a clean break. Many structures of control remained: centralized power, fear, silenced opposition. The empire was gone in name, but its shadow remained. Today, when people think of Russia, they think of a nation, but few remember that it was once an empire that shaped half the world. Its borders changed history. Its rulers influenced global politics. Its collapse reshaped the 20th century. And here's the unsettling part. Empires don't truly disappear. They transform. Their ideas linger. Their ambitions echo. Their history influences decisions long after the flags are lowered. So, when you look at modern geopolitics, when you hear about power, borders, and influence, you're not just seeing today's world. You're seeing the aftershocks of an empire that once believed it was eternal. The Russian Empire fell not because it was weak, but because it refused to change. And that may be the greatest lesson it left behind.